Wouldn't it be better to eat healthy?
Yeah.
Which everybody would agree. Are super processed foods really that bad for you? Well, I can help you out there and real quick. Yes.
Time magazine coming in hot with the propaganda. What if processed foods aren't as bad as you think? We think you might be dumb enough to believe this, so we can keep you weak and controllable because we're doing 1984 on you. Believe it! Welcome back to the JP Reacts channel, my beautiful freedom-loving friend. This is where we like to call out the lies, hypocrisy, and corruption of tyrants and Satan, shine the light of awareness on woke absurdities, and highlight the amazing work of other freedom fighters because truth conquers. And speaking of freedom fighters, RFK Jr. during his endorsement of President Trump's speech, he just had shots fired accurately, I might. America's disease, obesity epidemic, and the crappy processed foods and the food manufacturers behind it, causing America's just health crisis. And how does Big Ag, partnered with a media industrial complex, fire back? Well, cut to Time magazine, probably trustworthy, right? They come out with this article right away. What if ultra-processed foods aren't as bad as you think? Do they believe that you and I are dumb enough to fall for this Orwellian tactic of telling you the exact thing that's causing America's health crisis is not bad for you? In fact, it might be good for you. I don't know if we're dumb enough to believe that, but you and I can be the judge of that. In a second, we're going to take a look at the expert breakdown of this 1984 tactic they're doing on processed foods. They want you to keep eating them so you're less healthy. It's an expert breakdown by Dr. Casey Means, and it's just out of the 1984 playbook that they're doing all over the place. But if you can see the play that they're running, you don't fall for it. So we're going to take a look at that. We'll also take a gander at the actual Time magazine article. But first, here's RFK Jr.'s retweet about Dr. Casey Means' tweet about this. RFK Jr. says, yeah, what if? And what if ultra-processed foods are worse than you think? And based on everything I know about nutrition, I started studying nutrition when I was 19 years old. I would dare say ultra-processed foods are worse than most people think. So I think that was a good point by RFK. Now for me, I don't get offended by much. It takes a lot to offend me. But when I saw this Time magazine headline, I actually got offended. I'm like, they think some humans are dumb enough to fall for this? Well, unfortunately, they're right. Some humans are dumb enough to fall for this, but I think they're trying to get more on board. Now, for more on the Time magazine article, what was the scholarly contents of this article trying to get you to question RFK Jr.'s wisdom about ultra-processed foods are causing America's health crisis? Why are 50% of Americans obese? Why are 70% overweight? Why do we have the worst health outcomes even though we spend the most amount of money on healthcare? Well, Time magazine. Let's cut to our ultra-processed foods correspondent, Joe Rogan, for more on this Time magazine piece.
I saw an article today in Time magazine. It is.
Wait a minute, this Time magazine is still
Time
still
magazine is still out there.
Wow.
It's Time magazine, ladies and gentlemen.
This article. It was are super processed foods really bad for you?
Oh,
Fact check. Ultra processed foods.
seriously.
This is the question. Instead of saying,
And by the way, notice Joe Rogan's outrage. He's someone who's routinely preaching about health. He preaches about eating whole foods, meat, vegetables, whatever it might be. So he's someone who takes nutrition very seriously. And for a 57-year-old man, you can just look at him and notice his vitality is abnormally high. His health is abnormally high for probably any average American, let alone a 57-year-old American. And you can see him being offended by this, his outrage. And I would guess it's similar to mine. They think we're dumb enough to fall for this obvious lie. It's in the opposite direction of truth. But of course, that's what 1984 Orwellian propagandists are trying to do.
wouldn't it be better to eat healthy?
Yeah.
Which everybody would agree. Are super processed foods really that bad for you? Well, I can help you out there and real quick. Yes. Here it is.
From yesterday?
Aren't as bad as you think. Oh,
Yeah.
what if ultra processed
Yeah.
food aren't as bad as you think? That's it. Well, they're not. They're a lot worse.
Same sentiment as RFK Jr. Yeah, I agree. They're not as bad as you think. They're worse than you think.
They're fucking terrible for you. What kind of bullshit argument is this? This is real.
Look at
They are really bad for you.
Jessica is passionate about the pupusas from Costco.
Oh, God, Jessica. How about have a banana? And you get on the treadmill, you fucking idiot.
Yeah, that's true.
Like, what are we talking about?
I got a bag of pupusas.
We're eating shit that's terrible, that's really bad for you. Kind of fucking language drives me goddamn crazy. In other words, the vast majority of Americans, particularly the millions who are food insecure.
Food insecure. That's Orwellian speak for you're an idiot who has no self-responsibility.
Or have limited access to fresh food. They also tend to be lower income and people of color. Yeah, they fucking covered the whole
Make it about race.
spectrum.
Wilson felt the buzz ignored this food apartheid.
Food apartheid.
Oh, God.
Fucking crazy. As well as the massive diversity of foods that can be considered ultra-processed, a category that includes everything from vegan meat replacements, which, by the way, are really bad for you.
Yeah, it's an ultra-processed food.
And non-dairy milks.
Ultra-processed food.
By the way, are really fucking bad for you, to potato chips and candy, which, by the way, are really fucking bad for you. How can this entire category of foods be something we're supposed to avoid?
Self-responsibility. You get to choose health or a process that journeys away from health. How are we supposed to choose? By using your self-responsibility to look at the consequences of the choices and then choose accordingly. So Orwellian, it's trying to trick people into being a victim. Get out of the superpower of self-responsibility. That makes you strong and inconveniently not controllable. So just, you have no choice. Processed foods are there. They taste good, don't they? So, it's you're food sensitive. We'll get back to the video in a second, but first, as a veteran-owned company with a stellar 100% 5-star rating, Curativa Bay is passionate about delivering exceptional results with their all-natural skincare, pet care, supplements, and home and business cleaners. And their hero product, the Advanced Hypochlorous Skin Spray, is a game changer. This incredible spray offers a wide range of benefits, from banishing acne in just days and soothing eye conditions, to accelerating wound and burn healing in just half the time. It's even perfect for your furry friends. What makes it so miraculous? Well, hypochlorous acid is a naturally occurring substance in our immune systems that fights viruses and promotes healing. And Curativa Bay has harnessed this power to create a product that works with your body's natural defenses. And CuraClean, which contains the same molecule as a skin spray, can make claims to kill all viruses on surfaces. Join me in embracing a healthier, more natural approach to wellness. Your skin, your home, and your pets deserve the best. Just go to CurativaBay.com and use code JPReacts for 10% off. Enjoy. Now back to the video.
Because it's not fucking food. It's not nutritious food.
I like Joe Rogan's passion and anger about the people that are willing to harm other people to keep you eating this stuff that's profitable for the food industrial complex and maybe profitable for nefarious people that just want people sick and weak. Now, let's cut to Dr. Casey Means for her breakdown on how this is just out of the Orwellian playbook. And Dr. Casey Means, she was recently on Tucker Carlson, an amazing interview. So in short, then we'll go into the detail of her tweet. You can find this on her Twitter. Mainstream media playbook. When the culture seems to be turning towards health, rapidly spin up a BS article like this one that was published yesterday in Time to 1. Seed confusion. Confusion is key. 2. Normalize it. 3. Distract and shut down discourse by bringing in social justice. 4. Minimize the science. 5. Definitely don't mention conflicts of interest. That's the 5-step playbook. Let's expand it. Step number 1, seed confusion. Confusion is key. It makes us doubt our convictions about healthy food. Key here is bringing in experts who contradict the science and say it's sensationalized or impractical to implement. And those experts are sure experts at being an expert at what they're paid to be an expert in. 2, normalize. Talk about how nearly 80% of calories come from ultra-processed foods, so it can't be that bad, right? Ignore that 50% of children now have a chronic disease. Use a meaningless anecdote like the author of the article eating 80% processed food and feeling just fine. That is not scientific. It is a meaningless anecdote. Number 3, third step, distract and shut down discourse by bringing in social justice, because now if you question anything we say, you are against oppressed people. Social justice shuts down the science real quick. if you're a sheep and you fall for it. Number 3, distract and shut down discourse by bringing in social justice. Focus intensely on social justice issues and questions of food access rather than science. What would people possibly eat if we changed the food system towards real food? Well, they would eat better food. Rather than focusing on any meaningful solutions that are actually good for the health and well-being of all people, focus on how changing the current system would lead to more food insecurity. Don't mention that taxpayer money is what leads foods to be cheap through corrupt subsidies. And we actually have a rigged system against people of lower socioeconomic status that is the actual social justice issue. Don't mention that we could rapidly steer the billions of dollars of processed food subsidies towards real food access for all Americans if there was a will to do so. Step number 4, minimize the science. We got, seen Fauci do that a few times. Mention, but then quickly minimize the innumerable studies that say ultra-processed foods impair hormones, metabolic health, and are associated with early death. Step number 5, definitely don't mention conflicts of interest. Well, there wouldn't be any of those, would there? Certainly don't talk about funding sources and conflicts of interest at NIH, USDA, FDA, academia, or the news outlet that is publishing the article. Don't fall into the trap. What I love about this tweet by Dr. Casey means she clearly outlines the 5 steps in the playbook that this Time magazine article is trying to run on you and I, the American people. Get us to dumb ourselves down to question, are ultra-processed foods really that bad? And if we don't do our own thinking, these 5 steps work on us to influence us. Oh, well, how could they be that bad? And they convince people of it, not through actual science or information, but by this 5-step Orwellian process. Ladies and gentlemen, they're coming at us from all angles, but if we see them coming for us, we don't have to fall for it. With that said, thank you for watching this video. It got me fired up. Let me know what you think about Time Magazine's article questioning, are ultra-processed foods really that bad for us? Let me know in the comments below. I'll look forward to seeing you on our next video, but until then, stay awake but not woke.